So Golden State takes Game 2 of the NBA Finals. But imagine if they didn't. Golden State powered their way via 35-14 third quarter in Game 2 to even up the series at 1 apiece. Stephen Curry, Jordan Poole led the way for the Golden State Warriors, while a lackluster, absolutely torrid performance affected the Boston Celtics in this one. It was by Al Horford, Marcus Smart, and Robert Williams, all three who had only 2 points apiece. So where did this all fall apart for Boston? Very simple. They turned the ball over way too much. They had 18 turnovers to the Warriors 12, and the Warriors stole the ball from them 15 times. That's a lot. So you know that Boston has a very strong tendency. We actually talked about this in a past video where Boston's main weakness is. If you remember, I believe it was in Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals or Game 4, where they turned the ball over and they got stolen, or the ball got stolen from them roughly 19 times. That is a lot of times to have the ball poked away from you. Boston cannot turn the ball over against the Golden State Warriors. That's the number one thing if you're a Boston Celtics fan right now. If they keep turning the ball over, the Warriors are, again, we talked about this also in the previous video. The one area the Warriors have to win in is in transition. That's where they want to be. You do not want to get locked in a half-court setting against the Boston Celtics. The Nets learned that the hard way. The Bucks and the Heat also went through that in the Eastern Conference playoffs, and they realized at the end of the day, you do not want Boston in a half-court setting. So what do? They got out in the break, they knocked down their transition threes, they moved Boston's defense around way too much for Boston to really even identify. If you watch the game in the third quarter, most especially, where Golden State threw the knockout punch, they were moving around way too much, not being able to identify who was who, what personnel was guarding who. And at the end of the day, they ripped off a massive run, which was ultimately the death blow to the entire ball game. Now, again, Golden State, the one area, and they did not get out-rebounded massively at all in this ball game. I think the final rebound count was 42-42 in favor of Boston. If Golden State stays within striking distance in the rebounding battle, if they force turnovers and they get out in the break, even in semi-transition or in transition, and if they knock down their three-pointers, and if they really move the ball, you can better believe that despite Boston's defense, they will lose this series. But Boston still has the better defense. Boston needs to get this back in the half court. They need to slow the pace of the game down. They should not in any way, shape, or form turn the ball over. Now, that's one of the easiest things to do. If you remember in the Eastern Conference Finals, they rebounded from that terrible loss against Miami. All they got to do is keep the ball. Don't let Golden State, go out and absolutely bust out of the gate into the races and absolutely run them out of the gym. You don't want that if you're Boston. Rather, keep it in the half court, do your defense. Marcus Smart, Al Horford, and Robert Williams all need to be better. They know that 2 points is not going to cut it, no matter how good Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are. You'll need at least 5 or 10 points from those guys at least. And Al Horford went from the Boston Celtics, Al Horford in Game 1 with a 26-point performance to, I don't know who that guy was. Might have been the Florida version of Al Horford, but even that was pretty good. Even the Philadelphia version, I don't know. But ladies and gentlemen, we have Game 2 upcoming tomorrow, and it's gonna be a good one. Boston did what they had to do. Don't get me wrong. Boston did what they had to do, and they won one home game in Golden State, and now they're going back to Boston with 2 to play there. And best believe that Boston will make the right adjustments to make sure that they don't let home court advantage back to the Bay Area. We have this going through a long series, but at the end of the day, Boston might just take this one because, as you know, as the saying goes, defense wins championships. But we're not counting out Golden State's defense as well. If there was anything to learn about them in Game 2, is that they can also serve up their own brand of defense as well. It's going to be a long series. Let's see how all of this unfolds, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jaff. See you next time.